Hi everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the comparison between the true L20.2 equipment and the CCM Axis 2 equipment. In this video we're going to be taking a closer look at the similarities and the differences between the two sets of blockers and catchers. So if we start by looking at the blockers, we'll see that the true, very light, as you'd have seen in the true review video that I did previously, has a quite flexible sidewall, which I was quite surprised at, and something that I mentioned that I would like to see perhaps a bit stiffer on a next version of a true blocker. Has adjustments just on one side of the cuff. It's got a nice big open cuff there, but quite sort of deep. Only has adjustability on one side, so you're fairly limited as to the amount of adjustability that you have there. But it does have the stable finger protection on the side there that's still stitched in, as we'd expect from previous sort of CCM or Levev designed models. If we compare that to the Axis 2, Axis 2 has the more adjustable cuff there. This is one of the new design features of the Axis 2 blocker. Adjustable on both sides, as you'd have seen in the review video. We can adjust that to be as open or as tight as we want it to be, depending on your personal preference. And has a much more sort of thicker, padded and stable sidewall there. So that is definitely a plus in CCM's favour. It's just the stiffness of the sidewall and how stable that is. CCM has a much thinner palm, which I don't think is a positive or a negative in comparison to the true. You know, the positives of it, you've got a bit more sort of grip on the stick, a bit more control. It's got a bacteria reducing material in the palm as well, which the true doesn't have. But going back to the true, having a thicker and more sort of padded palm does have a bit more durability to it, and just allows you to reduce the vibration on the stick there a little bit. My honest opinion is that the true is actually closer to the original Axis 1 blocker. It's almost identical. So if we look at that in comparison, you know, it could be the same blocker, just with different graphics on it. Obviously Canadian build quality maybe slightly better, but in terms of how it feels, I think it's a lot more similar to the Axis 1. Axis 1 still has a much stiffer sidewall, that's the only sort of positive there. But in terms of sort of differences to the Axis 2, it's, you know, it has things that are better in terms of the finger protection is more stable than it is on the Axis 2. But, you know, there's a lot of differences in terms of the innovation around the cuff area. I think the Axis 2 sort of leads the way there a little bit. So that's the blockers. If we start to have a closer look at the catchers. Now the differences aren't going to be quite as noticeable on the surface. The trues, again, it's probably going to be closer to the Axis 1s in terms of similarity. It's your standard Levev design 590 double T catcher that hasn't changed in donkey's years and didn't need to. Absolutely fantastic. It's much stiffer. I think that some of that comes down to the Canadian build quality. It's much stiffer, much harder to break in, but once you do, you know, it's absolutely solid. The palm grip inside, sort of the Shore grip, whatever they use in Canada is a much higher quality material there. It sort of holds your hand a lot better, and there's a lot less slip, especially when your hand gets sweaty. There's not as much sort of slip inside the gloves. That's a definite plus for the true. It's just the material inside the glove there is a lot better. If we look at the CCM, obviously, as I mentioned in my previous video, this isn't the 591. This doesn't have the heat moldable, finger stall-less design inside. Does still have the cross strap design inside it, which holds onto the hand very nicely. Much easier to break in. I think after one skate it was ready to go. It's definitely lighter than the true as well. I haven't weighed each one, so I don't know exactly by how much, but it's definitely a lighter catcher. Doesn't have the Shore grip inside, so once your hand is wet it is a little bit more slippy, which is a negative in comparison to the true. But certainly in terms of innovation, when we're looking at that 591 sort of heat moldable design, CCM has sort of stepped ahead in terms of the innovation there, and hopefully that's something that true can catch up on in future models. So in comparison, I like both sets of kit a lot. I use both sets. I alternate them throughout the week. I don't favour one in front of the other. I think if you like a slightly more traditional feeling, sort of flat-faced pad, the Trues are the way to go, definitely in terms of them being lighter as well. If you like your innovation, if you like sort of new designs and being at the cutting edge of technology and goalie equipment, I think CCMs will be the better one for you. But personally, not just being neutral for the sake of my my platform, but I do like each set equally. But I hope this gives you a bit of an insight into the similarities and the differences between both sets of kit. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please contact us directly on Instagram or drop us a comment. And thank you very much for watching.